trusted of your lives. You say you don't need drugs.
I could give it away.
You say, but you
The
say
store where that came from.
generally miserable or suffer from 1,001 indescribable bad feelings, both mental and physical. Among them being low spirits, constipation, weariness, debility, lifelessness, feelings of fullness after eating, hot flashes, liver and kidney complaints, malaria, delirium, fever, sleeplessness, paralysis, indigestion, neuralgia, headache, blurry of eyesight, nervous frustration, irritability, lack of male vitality, rheumatism, poor memory, palpitation of heart, numbness, trembling, cold, cough, bronchitis, catarrh, sore throat, jaundice, melancholy, drowsiness after meals, lassitude, female troubles, fruit consumption, epileptic fits, dyspepsia, St. Vitus dance, cord blood, hysteria, and many other complaints can be treated successfully with Professor Bradner's Vegetable Cure-All. For sale after the tour.
I want to know what the
Seriously, I'm Eric Bradner, and I'll be your tour guide today from the Old City Cemetery Committee. That was actually two ads that I kind of mashed together, but I didn't make anything up, really. All those words were real. And back then, as we'll learn, there wasn't any legislation you could claim that you cured cancer or tuberculosis or anything. You know, no consequences. But, so anyway, welcome to the old Sacramento's historic Old City Cemetery, founded in 1849 with a grant from John Sutter Jr. It's a magnificent old Victorian garden. It's kind of a place that we're going to show off to you. And this, sorry, here, let's see, let me get started. I'm sorry, I should mention also, we have more tours throughout the year. Come in, we have flyers up here if you'd like to find out more. Look us up on the web. I think there may be a sign-up sheet around here somewhere for our mailing list right over there. Jeannie has it. And so we do these morning tours once a month. We also have some upcoming evening tours. There's a first off, there's a Valentine's tour in April 19th, I think, is it? Anyway, look it up on the web yourself. I have an upcoming tour May 4th, which will be a music tour, music at night in the cemetery, stories about Sacramento musicians. Yeah. If you're like me, or most people, you didn't really know anything about drugs in the Old West, you might just have a vague idea from watching Tombstone that Herb's wife was on laudanum or something. And, well, so what kind of drugs were around at that time? Were they legal? And we'll go into that during this tour. And we have a lot of people buried here at the cemetery. People who took drugs recreationally, folks who accidentally took too much medicine, even people who were poisoned with drugs. There are people buried here who took a swig of poison when they were arrested, or when they were about to be arrested for embezzlement or sexual misconduct, something like that. The index here has names about 30 or 40 people who have overdosed on drugs, and I found a lot more. Too many stories to tell in our time. There's people who took carbolic acid, strychnine, morphine, opium, chloroform, and too many other things to name. And that's just drugs. There's people who shot themselves and did all kinds of things that we don't have time to go into. The earliest overdose that I found was from 1852. A gentleman named Joseph Fish, who checked into the Phoenix Hotel on X Street, which I think was probably right down the street, and took overdose of laudanum and left a note saying, "I have taken 2 ounces of laudanum. I have cut 2 holes in the veins of my arm, but I did not do it soon enough, and the blood will not flow." Under these circumstances, I write. This is one of the happiest moments of my life. I feel sure that when I leave this world, God will provide me with a place better suited to my nature. I am of the hooded down men whom I have never... The sentence was forever left incomplete. Basically, they didn't have synthetic drugs back then, so everything was plant-based from alkaloids, which are just basically the chemicals that a plant produces, usually to ward off herbivores. I can't imagine being the first guy who accidentally ate too much, some weird mushroom or hemlock or some thing, and you know, after an evening of hallucinating and sweating and vomiting, going, hey, I should do that again, slightly alter it. But our forefathers did, and for that we thank them profusely, so we don't have to. So anyway, we're going to get started here. We're going to go down to the fire plot this way, and follow me. We're going to talk about patent medicines for just a minute. And there's some handouts going around that illustrate the patent medicines. And you can keep those. Whoever wants them, we can pass them around. I don't need those back. But the patent medicines is a misleading moniker. They're not really patented and they're not really medicines. A patent is an old English term, like meaning a royal dispensation to operate this business. So to get a patent, they would have to disclose their contents to the feds, and they wouldn't want to do that because they find out that they were either useless or harmful in a lot of cases. The success of patent medicines is closely tied to the rise of the modern advertising industry. Also, they had ads in every newspaper back then. They kept a lot of newspapers in business, so no exposés were run until around 1905. The Pure Food and Drug Act passed in 1906, which required labeling on the medicines. But there were some loopholes in the law. You could put the ingredients on the label, but then you could advertise on the radio or in the magazines anything that you wanted to. And there are also traveling medicine shows. Buffalo Bill Cody did one. He was actually partners with White Fever, who was David Powell, who lived with the Indians, tribe for a little while, got the name White Fever. And almanacs were big business back then. They also had tons of joke books, comic books, coloring books, trading cards, china, porcelain, decorations, paperweights, advertising, and banners were everywhere. They're actually led to the early start of the environmentalist movement because there was ads everywhere, even on Niagara Falls and Yellowstone, and that caused a big hubbub, and those were they had to go back and wash the paint off the rocks in Yellowstone. Almanacs were really big back then too, but often almanacs were the only other book in a house besides the Bible. Ayers claimed he was in more houses than the Bible. Ayers put out Ayers Cherry Pectoral. And Hamlin's Wizard Oil was the one that was painted on the rocks at Yellowstone. Those folks were household names. Lydia Pinkham, Dr. Kilmer. They're more respected and well-known than their local politicians. And Mrs. Lydia Pinkham, in particular, her profile was probably the most well-known female profile for 10, 20 years. These people hobnobbed with high society. Ayers had a town named after him. Hamlin became a theatrical magnate. Dr. Pierce, from Dr. Pierce's female pills, served a term in Congress. And G.G. Allen, I almost said. G.G. Green from Green's Ague Conqueror was so proud of his prosperity, he had pictures of his mansion and yacht put on the bottle. And many of these people were teetotalers. And in fact, Lydia Pinkham was a member of the Women's Christian Temperance Union at the same time that her medicine had 18% booze in it. And if you still have the handouts that I handed out, Lydia Pinkham was advertised before 1906 as a sure cure for falling of the womb and all female weakness. Hamlin's Wizard Oil contained camphor, ammonia, sassafras, cloves, turpentine, but especially chloroform and alcohol. And I have some more of these handouts that I'm going to pass out around at some of our stops, and take a look at them, and then at the end of the story, try and tell me what's in the medicine. If you can guess what's in it. So we're going to go down this way and around the corner.